and welcome to Life Before and After, the show that examines the connection between political topics and the impact they have throughout our lives and even in our deaths. Uh, my name is Ozzy Potter Forth. I'm joined by my beautiful co-host and wife, Arnessa Pye, and we are the owners of the Pye Funeral Home in Detroit, Michigan. And we started this podcast because we as funeral home directors care about your life before and after. How you doing, Nessa?
Hi, Ozzy. Hello, everyone. As we wrap up the year end, we face a lot of challenges. As we look back and look forward into 2021, we welcome Congresswoman Brenda Lawrence, who will discuss the impact of COVID-19 on 2020 and what we must do going forward relative to policy, as well as how COVID-19 has affected our professional lives and personal lives.
Well, Congressman Brenda Lawrence represents Michigan's 14th congressional district. She was re-elected to the U.S. House of Representatives in November of 2020 for a fourth term. She serves as co-chair of the bipartisan Congressional Caucus for Women's Issues and second vice chair of the Congressional Black Caucus. She serves on the House Appropriations Committee, serving on the Subcommittee on Transportation, Housing, and Urban Development, the Subcommittee on Commerce, Justice, Science, and the Subcommittee on Interior and the Environment. She is also a member of the House Oversight and Reform Committee, where she serves on the Subcommittee on Government Operation and Subcommittee on National Security. She was elected mayor of the city of Southfield in November of 2001 and became the first African American and the first woman to serve in that post. She previously served on the Southfield City Council, where she was elected president in 1999. She has also served on the Southfield Public School Board of Education as president, vice president, and secretary. And please, without further ado, let me introduce to some, actually very few, and just present to most Ms. Congresswoman Brenda Lawrence. How are you, my dear?
Such a pleasure.
Now, let me say, before she gets started, one more thing I got to say. Back in the good old year of 2001 and in 99, a young man by the name of Ozzy Potter Forth was out there passing out flyers.
Yes.
And trying to get this beautiful woman elected as president of when you went for school board, when you went for, gosh, when you went for mayor. I have supported you. I call her my auntie, y'all. This is my auntie, Brenda Lawrence. Y'all just need to know that. Okay, I love her like family. I love both sides of her family. Her husband's family has been good with us. We just love Brenda Lawrence and all your people. We really do.
Absolutely.
So it's truly an honor for you to come on our show today. Thank you for being here, Auntie. We just started this, so we're like super nervous, but we're doing the best we can here.
You're doing great.
Yeah.
I just want to take a moment of personal privilege to say, and I tell you this all the time, how proud I am of you. And then you chose an amazing woman to stand by your side. I've literally watched you grow up.
Yeah, you did.
Your maturity at such a young age, your passion and your dreams, and to have someone like you to be supportive of me, and now to watch the man that you have become and the father and the husband has just been really it gives you hope, not only for Black people, but for Black men. And I just want you to know how proud I am of you.
Wow, thank you so much. To be honest with you, I probably don't even be in the politics as much if not for you. Just so you know, this show probably doesn't even happen if not for you. But I love you so much. But anyway, let's get to some stuff. I know your time is limited, so let me get to some good stuff here that I know our people want to know. Number one, what is the current status of COVID-19 relief? Does the current Part 2 legislation concept introduced by these problem solvers caucus have a realistic chance? How are things coming along with that?
Some of it, but just understand the sticking points. Sticking points is that we included funding for cities and municipalities. So I want you all to think about every year, and this is, about the time in October through December, cities are mandated by law to present a balanced budget. when we created the budget for 2020, or cities did, there was no COVID. You just take the city of Detroit, their health department, their the uh, the absenteeism, the first responders, the hospitals who were just inundated, all the things that go into running a city. I know in the city of Southfield, they had a tremendously high amount of absenteeism based on members of the force getting COVID. And so all of these costs has hit cities very hard. And we know, and I'm a mayor, I'm on appropriations, so we have to give money to these cities to keep them afloat. So, because now we're looking at housing, we've been looking at unemployment because the moratorium on eviction runs out at the end.
Mm.
Excuse me, at the end of this month, which we know is going to be devastating for families all over. And so all of these things, and not to mention our small businesses who were decimated by COVID, and the rent that's going to be paid to these property owners because small businesses can't afford it because their business haven't been open. So it's just this layer upon layer upon layer. And in Detroit, the casinos, they closed the casino, a major portion of their tax base. And
Yeah.
so we can't be naive and say, just suck it up. This was too big to just say, well, we have a contingency for it. And for some reasons, the Republicans did not want to send money to cities. And they made, and it's just ignorant remarks like, we're not going to help a city that didn't manage their money well. You could have the best budget, but 2020 has just ripped you apart in your budget. I
Absolutely.
I lived through that with the housing crisis when I was the mayor. And this is something I want to say, this steps off into the social justice movement that we've seen this year, the outcry from the streets begging for reform of our police department. And the just slogan or the saying of defund the police has become this political trigger.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to be on the record. I do not support defunding the police. I was a mayor, and part of my job is to make sure they were trained, they were prepared, they had all the resources. So if any constituent dialed 911, that they were able to respond and take care of them. But when we witnessed what happened with George Floyd, obviously this was not a trained police officer. It was an officer who didn't feel he would be held accountable. And we
Clearly.
see it over and over again. So we need to redefine what policing is in America. The young man who was killed, who was having a mental psychotic episode in the street naked, and the only thing that the police knew to do was shoot and kill him, put a bag over his head. I mean, the man was mentally ill. It was obvious. But we don't invest in training for de-escalation, training for how do you deal with a mental episode. So I am supporting and appropriating to ensure that we change the requirements and we put in some accountability and the body cams for every police officer. When we had that incident in Detroit and it was escalating because they said that the police had shot this man without cause, but the cam showed that the gentleman had initiated fire first. So I'm talking about a lot of different things here, but that's one of the things. The other thing that has been a big stickler, the $1,200 stimulus check and the $600 unemployment compensation insurance. They do not want to do that. We have negotiated to $300 for unemployment, and we have negotiated for $600 for for the stimulus. So we're moving in the right direction. It's not what we want, but it is moving in the right direction. Now,
I'm hoping that's a per week thing, right? That's a per week
yes.
allotment? Okay.
But the $600 check would be a one time, just like the $1,200 was a one time check. but the unemployment would be weekly.
Good.
So this other thing that has become quite the bone of contention, and then we don't know where this came from, but the Republicans want a annuity clause for businesses and corporations. So I'll give you an example. If I work in a restaurant and you do not require anyone to wear masks, you say, come in my, no, you don't have to wear masks when you're in here. Or you have a business, a manufacturing plant. You do not have PPEs, you're not cleaning, and you're not mandating masks. I get infected with COVID. Just like in all OSHA laws, if you as an employer do not adhere to OSHA guidelines, then you're held accountable. If you don't have
Absolutely.
a fire exit, if you don't remove the snow, if you don't fix electrical outlets, then you are held accountable. They don't want that. They said there should be no ability for any employee to sue related to COVID. And
Really?
they're digging in. They do not want that. And so that has been our last bone of contention with them. So we're moving forward. The problem with negotiations, nobody wins. Everybody gets a little bit of what they want.
Mhm.
So our hospitals, our testing, the vaccine funding, all of that, we have reached agreement on. But those three things are the things that have been really stickler for us. I just wanted to remind people, because I get to ask this all the time. I did a Zoom with Country Day. Interesting conversation with the students. And but I want you to know today we've had more than 478,000 cases in Michigan and deaths of 11,000. And United States, 16.75 million cases, and unfortunately confirmed deaths of 304. And so we are just really in a place that I thank God for the vaccine, because something has to happen. You have experienced just the devastating end result of what we went through, and you went through it before we had resources. And so I called to check on you because I knew it was so much going on, and I could hear in your
Appreciate that.
voice the burden of having to process so many people through this end of life cycle. So I want to thank you for everything you did.
Thank you.
You're a
Yeah.
small
Thank you.
business, so you had to deal with that, but you also had to deal with the families and the grief and the frustration we all were having. Why are we dying at this rate? And so we're moving forward. We have the vaccine. We're doing a better job of treating this disease, thank God. I want you to know that when I talked about mental health, the records have shown that this pandemic has had a direct impact on the mental health of so many people.
Yes,
I
yes, it has.
agree.
The
I
end
agree
of
with that.
life, and you're not able to have that closure with the one you love because of the isolation, the just paranoia when you get affected. Oh my God, am I gonna die? The just devastating impact on small business owners. I know so many companies had just had their grand opening, and COVID hit and had shut everything down.
Yep.
We know that if a person is living in a house and this person is an abuser, and during the pandemic, they were just held hostage. So the domestic violence case and child abuse went up through the roof. And something that's breaking my heart is that I was informed that 3,000 children have not reported to virtual online learning.
Wow.
Where are my babies? Where are my children?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
No,
Lord.
in certain economics and demographics, there's a struggle with education already. And now with this virtual lack of broadband, lack of internet, lack of just computer, because there was documentary on this, and this young girl who was of Latino background was poised to be the first one to graduate from high school in her family, and she dropped out. And when they found her and said, "Why aren't you reporting?" She said, "I have to do everything on my cell phone, and I'm not, I can't connect, and I don't feel it, so I just gave up." So
Yeah.
like hotspots, like if you're a working mother or father and you barely paying the bills, cable is not going to be on your budget. It's
Yeah.
Exactly.
a necessity, but now
Mhm.
it is. So hotspots, providing laptops for the children. So the the mental health piece of what this pandemic has done to us, in addition to taking lives, has been traumatic. The unemployment, we know, and then housing, unemployment, food. I never thought we would have food lines like we have now. I
Yes.
I just the fact that people in America, after only a month, were in food lines saying we need this to feed our families.
Mhm.
Wow. Wow. So tell me, d- it now, well, now that the vaccine is out,
Yeah.
is there going to be any policy that makes it mandatory for individuals to take it?
Right now, it will not be mandatory. There are going to be some businesses that'll make it mandatory. To give you an example, if you want to work in a nursing home, which were one of the hardest hit when it came to overall infections, um, I'm anticipating that if you want to work in this nursing home, you need to have your vaccine. If you want to work with children, you need to have your vaccine. So
Mhm.
it's not going to be a legal mandate, but it's going to be just out of safety. And those, like our first responders who are exposed to everything, we're lining them up now. They're the first ones to get the vaccine. And I haven't heard any police department or fire department or hospital mandating it, but I can see a hospital mandating, if you want to be a nurse in this hospital, you have to get the vaccine.
Wow,
Absolutely.
absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Congressman Lawrence, I have a question. How has COVID-19 impacted you and your family?
Well, right now I'm going through a challenge with my sister, and unfortunately, I lost a sister during this period.
I'm so
Yeah, my
sorry.
Dealing
too.
dealing with
We've been
healthcare,
praying for you.
healthcare in this pandemic has been just awful. You're restricted from visiting your parent, your family member. You are restricted in what, like, my sister needed ICU. Well, all the beds were full. So she was in a step down unit and they were trying to piecemeal it together. You know how frustrating that is, because you're sitting there knowing she's not getting what she would have gotten on the other floor, and they just kind of reassuring you. Um, to see people who are putting off surgeries. Like,
Right.
you may need a hip replacement. You might need um, other type of surgeries, and you have to put them off because the hospitals aren't safe.
Right.
I am. I had to fly to Washington to work. You talking about personal impact? I could roll a bowling ball down the middle of the airport and nobody was there. I was on a 747 jet and there was only 6 people in the entire jet.
Wow.
Wow.
I know I watched you a few of your videos on Instagram, and you would be on there, and you was like, you would show like the view
Yeah.
of it, and I was like, wow, it is empty. It is
Yes.
pretty empty.
And then, it's getting up that nerve to be around people because, we were locked down for so long. And then and that's what essential workers go through. You're an essential worker. You can't shut down and say, I'm not going to provide my service.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was personally a challenge. And then, Thanksgiving was weird. I
Mm.
put my fold-up table in my family room and open the patio door and let my daughter and my granddaughter eat in there. And my husband and I were in the dining room and we shouted across the house and we all wore a mask until we ate. But, you know, it is what it is. And then
Yeah.
you have the people that we've lost that you just talk to them and now they're gone.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that goes back to that mental health.
Yeah,
I agree.
I agree. Now, does it worry you that so many Republican legislators and the Trump administration have taken a lax attitude with the pandemic and the spreading of COVID?
You have to understand, I hope that you understand this. When you take this oath of office and say you're going to serve and protect, and I've been in an environment for the last 4 years with the administration that you can say what you want to them, that they weren't competent in a lot of things, but they just lack compassion. The fact that, you know, 300,000 people are dead, the end, they're gone. And to just poo-poo it and say, oh, it's just a big deal. They're trying to make a big deal out of this, and it's not a big deal. Drink some bleach, or I mean, whatever he would say, it just tears at my heart. And to have Republicans that I work with, and I'm a person that knows that we're a two-party system in America. And if you think our democracy and our Constitution is amazing, it's not a Democrat or Republican Constitution. It was the two parties coming together, fighting it out, developing a foundation that we stand on in America. And now to have this divisiveness, like, well, you're right, you're not right, I'm right, you're Republican, I'm a Democrat, you know, you're red, I'm blue, only some states are good and others aren't. We are the United States of America. And and we have operated because the peaceful transfer of power that we normally go through has been totally disrupted. Thank God the Electoral College held it together and we're moving forward. I received an email 2 days ago from a random person asking me as a congressperson not to vote, because that's the last step. Congress will vote, asking me not to vote to put a illegally placed President, Vice President Biden and Harris into office. Do the right thing and vote for Trump. It's still continuing.
Wow.
It's still continuing.
No, no. Well, I know you got to go shortly, but let me ask this before you go. What hope do you have to take us into 2021, either on COVID, the country, or even for the Black community? What's the good word that we can hear?
So the good word is that I have so much hope because of Biden and Harris coming into office. First of all, and he has said it repeatedly, I don't care if you didn't vote for me. I'm your president and I'm going to work for you. I'm going to fight for you. I'm going to protect you. I'm going to make sure that you have a seat at the table and I listen to you. We got to bring this country together. And I'm so hopeful because I know for a fact, I know Kamala Harris so well, and I know the record of Joe Biden, that they're going to work to bring this country together. And that's what we need. I am hopeful with the vaccine because, you know, that has been a knot in my stomach. What do we do with all these deaths and the sickness and illness? I'm hopeful on that. I'm looking at this administration that Biden is putting together, and he's ensuring that all of the community in our country are represented at the table. That's powerful. And so I am hopeful. I'm hopeful that we will be able to get some of the legislation that Mitch McConnell has placed in his graveyard. I'm hopeful that we do something in in Georgia, that we can
Yes.
actually get some things signed and enacted. And so, and I'm hopeful because of the two of you. I mean, look at you, you're stepping into a space that you don't normally to just try to bring it down,
This is
bring
true.
down all that anxiety. just let people know that we're talking to each other and get the facts out there. This gives me hope. I mean, when they said Ozzy Pie podcast, I could like, what? Wait a minute, that's not what he does. So I am so hopeful and just thankful to both of you.
Wow. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Yes. Yes.
Vanessa?
All right then. Well, where do I go? Well, we hope that you have enjoyed this episode of Life Before and After. We would like to thank you, Congresswoman Brenda Lawrence, for speaking with us, and we would like to thank you all for listening in.
And thank you again, Auntie, for being so gracious and coming on here. We love you, and we look forward to talking to you some more. We're going to see how this thing goes.
I wanted to end with this. The holiday is coming up, whether you're celebrating Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, Merry Christmas, or just standing there looking at the walls. I wish everyone an amazing holiday. When we talk about before COVID, if we didn't have an appreciation for life, if we didn't have an appreciation for an effective government, we have been shaken to be awake, to pay attention, and to have appreciation and an expectation. So before COVID, we were kind of like, government doesn't mean anything to me. I don't care. We know now how important government is to our lives.
Absolutely.
And I want everyone to know, when you talk about hope, 2021, come on. I'm ready to kiss 2020 goodbye. And
yes.
Aren't we all?
Thank
Amen
you all.
to that.
Be safe. I love you.
Thank you. We love you too.
And kiss those pretty babies of yours for me, okay?
We surely will. Thank
We'll
you so much.
And we'll have you on again too very soon.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Love you, Auntie.
Love you
All right.
too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Making final arrangements for your loved one can be very emotional, stressful, and overwhelming. At times like this, you need the support and services from someone you can trust. O.H. Pye III Funeral Home is that someone. Our staff is knowledgeable, caring, and considerate of each family's individual circumstances and needs. For a consultation, give us a call at 313-838-9770. Pye Funeral Home. Caring for families, caring for life.